Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends. My name is Vincenzo and welcome to my channel, and the channel is Fountain Pen Therapy. Welcome to another recap. Yes, a little surprise there last week. I decided that instead of the weekly recap, I'd publish a video I prepared on fountain pen fakes, clones, and homages. And it was not pre-announced, just because there wasn't very much new, folks, and I figured, let's wait a week. And during the summer, as you know, I'm a golf player, some good weather. I think it's time to spend time with our family, go out, and etc., etc. So there may be some switches, and especially if there's nothing really new to report on a weekly basis, because things are quieting down and people are on vacation, I might switch up and present interesting videos, not just reviews. I've got all kinds of things in the pipeline that would be just as interesting and just as captivating, hopefully, as my weekly recap. So there you have it. So for those of you who were expecting the recap and didn't get it, I apologize in advance, but you got something else which I think was worthwhile as well. In fact, it was very popular, got a lot of comments. It is a controversial subject to begin with, and so that was covered as best as I could. Now, for this week, I've got all kinds of things. Given that there's a 2-week period, we received some wonderful stuff. We've got new writing instruments. We've got some new inks to propose. We've got all kinds of things in the pipeline. So stay tuned. Fountain Pen Therapy presents the weekly recap for July 13, 2025. Okay, so for the first segment, what's new in the market? Well, what's new in the market in terms of writing instruments, paper, and inks? Let's start with the Chinese market. So without any further ado, let's go to my computer so that I can show you what I've seen and what I think is worthwhile mentioning. First thing, there's this Dieman 1841. Frankly, I'm not sure if this pen is a new offering from Dieman, or if it's something we've already seen. I do not own an 1841. At least I don't think so. It doesn't look like a familiar pen. But there you have it, roughly $40 to $48, depending on which. It's even as high as 61. Frankly, this pen does not. This is 38, and there's some at 36. Does not excite me. I'm not sure if this nib is that new nib. A number 5 or number 6. It looks like a number 6 size nib. It comes in 0.4 and 0.5. I think I'm going to pass, or maybe wait for some other reviewers to review this pen, because it does not strike me as something spectacular from Dieman. So there you have that one. What else is there? Okay, that's Dieman. Mahjong. Yeah, you remember this Mahjong P137 has intrigued me, and you see it with this kind of clip. They've come out with a new version which has a different clip. As you can see, the snake is wrapped around in that fashion. It's now down to $131. I am seriously thinking about getting one. It's a titanium pen, and if I can get it in the hand-polished medium, I already own the P136, which is spectacular. So there you have it, folks. You can either take it in this dragon, which looks less like the Mont Blanc than this one. This one, I think, is even more of, no, where is it? This one here, I think it resembles much more the Mont Blanc version of this pen. So there you have it. What else have I got for you? Asvine J16. You might say, well, wait a minute, we've seen that already. Yes, we have, but I noticed, and maybe not here, it's in, you don't see it in AliExpress, but if you go to Asvine store on Amazon, you'll see that they're now offering medium, broad, extra fine, fine, which you've seen before, but they've added flexible fine, and that's because of that Yowo nib. So you can get the Yowo flexible fine with that pen if you so wish. Now what else have I got? Oh yes, Natami has come out with a new pen. I think this is a new one. I've never seen this one before. It resembles something that we've seen from Dieman, like the Max Forest or the 1861, I believe it is. I'm not going to go for it. Natami makes some nice pens, reasonably priced, as you can see, $23. And it really very, very good nibs, generally speaking, but I think I'm going to pass. There's nothing exciting. It's déjà vu. I've seen things like that already. What else have I got? Majon P140. Here again, I managed to find a 140 with that Bach nib, number 8, fine. So if you're interested in seeing what that Bach nib would look on the P140 in the fine, well, it's now available both in the P140. I also saw it with the P139. We'll take a look at that fine nib in a second. In my pen instruments or writing instruments, when we take a look at what I've purchased for the week. Anything else? Yes. Let's go to Peyton Street Pens. What I find interesting is this PSP Peyton Street Pens Lotus pen. Very good ebonite with a Schaefer nib, a 14 karat Schaefer nib. If you're interested in that inlaid nib with a nice Lotus, they're excellent ebonite pens. Well, you've got a variation of pen colors and ebonite finishes there. In terms of ink, we'll take a look at inks in a second, but a Wet Pen, which is a YouTube reviewer, makes his own inks, and he's come out with 4 different inks. Giant Pacific Octopus, which is kind of a brown. The Everett Massacre ink, which is in the red shade. Pen Cove Muscle, kind of a purplish ink. And Big 4 Ice Caves, which is a nice blue. So if you're interested in Wet Pen, and we'll be taking a look at inks in a second, they have some new inks that are being offered. One last thing that I did, the Corsani. Yes, there is on the Stilografica Corsani, which is an Italian pen retailer, they're offering a special edition Leonardo pen, the Corsani Poliedrica Flex, with a 14 karat gold nib, La Fenice number 6, Flex extra fine, made in house. And again, it is a big mystery to me, but we will get to that in a second. Is this really an in-house nib? I have no idea, but we'll get to it in my comments section. So I thought that could be of some interest. Lastly, I received and took a look at this website. It is referred to as omasbologna.com, the most unique fountain pen of the 21st century, not imitable, not counterfeitable, produced exclusively in Bologna, assembled in the OMAS historic headquarters, July 2025. Folks, I've got a feeling when I read, and I will put this email address or this web address in the description. This looks like it's a relaunching of the OMAS by the Simone family. And I've been invited to an OMAS relaunch. I guess it's kind of a Teams, or they've sent me an invitation with a link for next week. I will do my best to assist and see what they have to say. But I've got a feeling that this may be something new. They're talking about the Simone family kind of releasing pens that are going to be made in Bologna. I will let you read this. So to what extent is this OMAS different from the other OMAS that's now already selling pens? And I know there's been some controversy over trademarks and the like, and maybe even some litigation. But I thought that this is interesting. To what extent, what are they going to be doing here? They go through some of the history, and then they allow you to register, and that's what I did. I registered, and I got an invitation for this, I guess, a relaunch or an announcement that will be made next week. I will keep you guys informed, and will let you know in the following recap exactly what this is all about. So there you have it for what's new in the market. Stay tuned for my next segment. Be right back. Okay, so I'm back with the paper that I'd like to review for you this week. First of all, you see on the screen, this is the order page. This is the notebook that I decided to buy. Very attractive. I said, boy, that's a lot of paper there. They describe it as vintage A5 leather notebook. I've seen this word vintage being used before. I'm not sure I understand exactly what they mean by that. There's really no name per se in terms of what this paper is all about, but it looked like it had an attractive look. So I decided to order this this color. And here's what I got in real life. Here's the notebook. First of all, when you see the thickness, it's just not quite as thick as what the photographs look like. It came already kind of damaged, if you will. It wasn't packaged. Unlike some of the other notebooks I received that were extremely well packaged, this one kind of all bent out of shape. This material is neither faux leather, nor leather. It's absolute garbage in my view. You see it bends. It's not very, it's functional in terms of, look at this, it's already bent. It came already bent, and I've been trying to put it into place, but it keeps turning on me. That's the notebook. I mean, the notebook appears to be, you can open it up. It stays open, so that's, the binding appears to be nice. In terms of description, you see it's meant to be kind of a daily journal. It has a memo number, it has a date, and then you can put in the weather icons, or Monday to Sunday, depending on the day. So the paper looked okay. At least it looks okay from, preliminary view. There is a little loop there for the pen. It fits, thinner pens, I would say to you, but not the thicker ones. I have, for example, this Dieman T1 that will have some resistance there once it reaches the cap. So I don't believe it's made for bigger pens, but there you have it. The problem with this, it also has a kind of a divider here, or a page indicator. The problem is with the paper itself. I've done some writing, and we'll do some writing now, and I don't know if you can see it, but you could see some feathering on this paper. Not an enormous amount, but there is some feathering, and there is some see-through. It comes right through. And I'm going to compare it to another notebook that I found to be really performing much better than I had anticipated. And maybe that's the comparison. This is the other Chinese. This one is a better product. First of all, you can put in your pen there. It's big enough to accommodate quite a few. Then it does have also a page divider with a little metal at the end. And the paper on this thing is just so much smoother. It is thicker, better quality in my view. And let's compare, okay? So if you see this notebook, I mean, the verdict's still out, but I hesitate to recommend it. Let's first of all take my Asvine. This one is a tough pen because it is a 1.1 stub, and these Asvine 1.1 stubs are really wet. But if it passes this test, it'll pass any test. So, and it's the same way. It's the same one I used in that writing sample there, but we'll do it live. So that is the Asvine C80 with a 1.1 stub. Sorry about that. Here we go. And as the ink goes down, you don't see the feathering. It's as it dries that all of a sudden the feathering kicks in. It's not bad, but it's not good either. So 1.1 stub. It goes down thick and wet, which is to be expected. So as you see, as I put down the ink and write, it's okay. But as it dries is where the problems begin. Then you start to see some of the feathering. If I compare it to this one, okay, so this is the Asvine. This one is not in view, sorry. Asvine C80 with the 1.1 stub. It's thick and wet. And no feathering. Now, maybe to be fair, let's pick a fine nib. Do I have one that's fine? Let me just see here. Yeah, this Ongdian T1 is finer. It's a medium nib, but it is much finer than that 1.1 stub. And again, no feathering, very smooth. Just the right amount of feedback, I would say to you. Very pleasant paper. And we'll see what it looks like on the other side in a second. Let's test this one that I just bought. So this is the Hongdian T1. Right away, there's a little more feedback. And it is thicker and wetter on this paper. And we'll see if it feathers. Much better. So I think refeathering, okay, it's much better. There is some, but not much. with a thinner pen. And I would suspect that if I got a decent fine nib, there'd be very little. As far as the other side is concerned, you can see some see-through with all the writing samples. So your pages really can't be used on the other side. As far as this one is concerned, and again, I think that this is a much better product. There is some, but it's very usable. So if you're being attracted by this product, whatever, it doesn't have a name, but you've seen the picture, and I will leave a description below. I would suggest to you that you should stay away from it. I mean, it is $12, but I think for $13 you can buy something else. I just don't like the way it came. Very cheap, very, very cheap. So that's one of them. The other one that I'd like to show you that I did order was this notebook or notepad. I was attracted by it. Let me show you what it looks like on the description on AliExpress. Here it is. You see it comes in different sizes. Again, they fool you with the thickness of the pad, making you think that it is much thicker than it actually is. But however, it does tell you it's 120 pages. It's a spiral book coil notebook, not much more, with a plastic cover. Okay, and let's see what it looks like in real life. Here you have it. I mean, the manufacturing is fine. The spiral appears to be undamaged. The plastic is a nice thick cover. The writing, I've written with the Majon P139 with a medium nib, the Asvine C80 with a medium nib, the Ongdian T1, and even the Admoc M800, the rollerball. And this is the new a new Winsung that I got that I will show you in a second. And that's my Asvine 2000 with the fine nib. And so, you know, I've tested it pretty well. And when you look on the other side, oh, it's not bad, but not the same quality as this notebook here. So I hesitate. So if you see it, and we can do some live writing. Let's take we'll take the 1.1 stub, which is really thick. Yeah, this is the 1.1. This is the Asvine C80 with the stub 1.1. And again, when you write on it, it is pleasant. But then as it dries, let me just bring it up to the camera. As it dries, you see the feathering. It starts to feather on you. Okay, and let's take my Hongdian T1. This one has a medium nib. Again, pleasant to write on. And the price is $9.99 for 120 sheets. Again, you see the feathering. This is the Asvine C80 with a medium nib. Again, very pleasant to write with. Just a little bit of feedback. But as it dries, the feathering kicks in. Now, do I have a fine nib somewhere in this lineup? Just pulled out my Asvine C80 Extra Fine. And these Asvines are a little bit thicker in terms of flow than normal pens, I would say to you. Even Western pens. So this is the Asvine C80. And it's, you can see that the Extra Fine is cutting into a little bit into the paper, which I guess is to be expected because it is an extra fine nib. So it's not as smooth, but I can tell you that the feathering is almost instantaneous, even on this extra fine. Let me show you a close-up of this. See the feathering on all of them, on that stub, on the medium, on the Asvine medium, and even on the Asvine Extra Fine, which is unfortunate. On the other side, it becomes unusable with all. Now, is it fine if I use a roller ball? Let me test that as well for you. Because if you're interested, then at least you know that you should just limit yourself to a roller ball. Here's my Zento signature. So this is the Zento signature. And this has a uniball roller ball. Now, is it the 38 or the 0.5? Just 1 second. I'll let you know in a minute. Yeah, that's a 0.5. So that's a 0.5. So it's not the thinner of the two, it's the thicker. But it's still fairly fine. Obviously, you don't see the feathering. And on the other side, right at the end here, you could see that the roller ball doesn't go through. So I guess this paper is limited to ballpoint, roller ball, and maybe pencil, but I would not recommend it for fountain pens. I certainly won't. I got to tell you, I was attracted by the ad for both this one and this one, but I have to say no to both of them. Unfortunately, going to buy a product. So far, this beats it. I showed you this last week. I'm starting to use it a little more, and it's not as bad as the ones I just ordered. I would say that this one is in between. This is the best of the three. Wait, 1 second. Let me just, here we go. This is the best so far. And this one on the other side, these two are just not acceptable for fountain pen. This one's not bad. And it's somewhere in between this one and that one. I like the cover on this. I really do. Lots of paper. And I'm using this for YouTube review ideas. It's not bad. As you can see, I'm writing on both sides. So I can't really complain. The writing does appear a little bit, but not that bad. But it's not as good as this one. And they both come in very different colors. So these two are acceptable. These two are not. I did order a third one on AliExpress. I've not received it yet. And as soon as I do, I will review it as well. Just so that if you're tempted, you either go ahead or stay away. Be right back with the next segment. Okay, so we're back. We're going to do some ink swatching therapy. And The therapy I got for you this week is the following. First of all, I'm going to dedicate this ink swatching session to the wet pen. For those of you who are not familiar, he's a fellow YouTuber, fountain pen ink, fountain pen paper reviewer, enthusiast. Excellent reviews. I recommend this channel. Whenever he publishes a video, it's always very well done, very informative. He's got a very unique and artistic style. And I salute Matthew. Hello, Mats. I'm hoping you're taking a look at this. I'm dedicating this ink swatching to your inks. The reason why I'm doing that, I have 6 inks to propose for you. These are 6 inks that he makes themselves, or he has managed to make himself and bottle them, etc., etc. And they are up for sale on his website. I will leave the website address in the description so you can take a look at the swatches he has and the descriptions, etc. And I know he's got a couple of new inks that he's introducing, and I'm going to eventually get to buy those if I haven't already done that by the time this video is published. But I would like to show you the 6 inks that I already have. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to swatch 6 inks. I will not compare paper. I will swatch all 6 on Tomahawk River paper, just one paper. And without any further ado, let me set up. I'll show you the 6 inks I want to swatch, and we'll get right to it. So instead of swatching 3 inks twice, we will swatch 6 inks, but only once on Tomahawk River. Be right back. Okay, I'm all set up. What are we going to swatch on? It's this Good Impressions. This is my swatch book, if you will, ink swatch book. If you haven't seen this already, I'll put the description in the. I'll put the link in the description. You have the name of the brand, you have the name of the ink, the date that you purchased it. You do your swatch, and you can collect. And as you can see, I've got several. The disadvantage, of course, of Tomahawk River is that you can only use one side, but that's okay. This is a kind of a YouTube version of this notebook. I actually have or swatch book. I have a swatch book for every color. So I have a blue swatch for blue inks, a green one for the green inks, etc., etc. And this one is kind of an overall working copy that I use for my YouTube reviews. So there you have it. Okay, and the bottles of ink come roughly. Now I know Matthew's kind of changed the bottles over time. He had some problems with some of the bottles that had a very narrow neck, but I think he's finally got it now. So you'll see a different, but essentially this is the packaging. That's the beautiful, beautiful label. Really nice. Congratulations. He's got the name of the ink, at least in these bottles, underneath. So without any further ado, let's get going here. So the first one is going to be Rainier Blue. And a lot of them are kind of motifs that are inspired by his home state, which is Seattle, which is a fun, kind of a nice dedication, if you will. So let's start with the first one. Of course, I'm using my folded pen, brass. This is Rainier Blue. Just forgot a towel here. Let me put my towel there. For the actual writing, I'm going to do it with this glass pen. You've seen this pen. I use this pen as a pointer for some of my size comparisons usually. I decided to go back to it and write with it, and we'll see. It writes very thick, so the brand is The Wet Pen, and the name of the ink is Rainier Blue. And I'll put today's date as the date of the swatching, if you will. Here we go. Rainier Blue. Next. Okay. The next one is Diablo Lake. See, this one has a narrower bottle, a narrow neck. And this is what he was referring to, that he had ordered some bottles and had some issues with supplies, but that he has since corrected that, I believe. Okay. Gotta be careful, I just put too much there. So this again is the, whoa, put too much ink on this one. The wet pen. And this Diablo Lake. There we go. Two down. Next one. This one is Gasworks Park. Turning this nib because there is one side is a lot smoother than the other, because I've got a feeling that I chipped. Now I remember why I've been using this as a pointer, because I had some time ago kind of chipped the glass on that nib, and so it's got one side that's a lot smoother than the others. The next one is Blackberry. Whoa, realized that wasn't in view. Okay, here we go. So this is Blackberry, kind of a purplish color there. Yeah, it writes nicely when you catch the right side. So what did we say? Blackberry. There we go. The next one is Elliott Bay. My recollection is that this was one of my favorite, if I'm not mistaken. So let me just push that up so it is in view. Here we go. Yeah. Is it double T? I forget. We'll take a look at that in a second. We shall cap that, turn over the bottle to see Elliott Bay is two T's. Is it two L's? Yes, it is. Okay, so those are the 5. We have one more. We shall do on the other side. This one shows the box. At least this was the box he was using at the time. I know he's kind of perfected his own packaging and he's kind of nailed it now. I know that he also had some inks that he was still experimenting with, that he had sent me that had not quite made his list. But I believe that all of these are on his website. Okay, so the last one is Deception Pass. This is another one of my favorite, I think. Yeah, here we go. So, whoa. Lots of ink there. Okay, Deception Pass. Yeah, I realize I need to kind of smooth down the tip of this glass pen. I thought I did some time ago, but it feels like it needs more work. There we go. But I saw a couple of glass pens, by the way, that Majon has put out. I may order some of those and maybe we'll review them in due course. So that's Deception Pass, sorry. Okay, so we'll put those away. What I propose is that we just give all this ink some time to dry up, and then we'll be right back and take a look at them once they're dry. Be right back. Okay, so the inks have dried, and so let's take a look at all these 6 inks and see what they give. The first one, the Araignée Blue, is a beautiful blue. It's kind of my favorite color. The camera's not showing that much, but there is some red sheen there that appears. Diablo Lake is kind of a very nice grayish green, almost. There's some teal there. I don't know what color you would describe it. A little bit of red sheen. I like that kind of more of a neutral color, but it comes in real life. It appears to be a little grayer than on camera. You got the feeling it's a little more green. Then you've got Gasworks Park, which I would describe as a very black blue, with some shading and some red sheen as well. You got the Blackberry, which is a kind of a darker purple violet with some shading there, as you can see, from darker to light, and some darkish sheen. This Elliott Bay is just gorgeous. When you pour it and you first swatch, it's all blue, and then as it dries, that gorgeous green tint shading comes out. And even in the writing, I think is just fabulous. And then, of course, you got this Deception Pass, which is kind of the opposite of Elliott Bay. Elliott Bay's got the blue base with some of the green, reflection and shading, whereas Deception Pass, it's got the green base with some of the blue shading that appears on it. So there you have the 5 inks. I think very interesting. Congratulations, Mats. And if you guys are interested, take a look at the link in my description, and I'm going to look into ordering some of the new offerings. I believe he has 3 or 4 inks that he's offering that are brand new, and maybe we'll get those up to us as well, and we'll be able to review them for you as well. So there's the ink swatching for this week. Stay tuned for my next segment. For my next segment, let's take a look at some pens and what's new in the Fountain Pen Therapy studios in terms of writing instruments. Well, I got 3 things to show you here, and we'll take a look at them one at a time. First of all, let's look at what AliExpress has to say about this AdMock M800 that you see in view here. Let me just switch to my computer. Here it is. It's an AdMock M800, but it's a roller ball. And I decided to, the next one actually is, so that's one of them that you saw in that tray. The second one is this Jinhao 85 with a Fude nib. And that's what you see in these two pens, except take a look at the Admach M800. Take a look at this beautiful resin. I chose this and I don't regret it. It is really, really complex, some very deep chatoyancy there. I like that, I guess that spaghetti sort of, I think they refer to as spaghetti resin, I'm not sure. But I mean, you've got all kinds, you've got some waves, you've got some straight lines. I like the mixture of that brown, green, blue, light blue, dark blue mixture. Very, very nice. It's the M800, it's not the 400, so it's the biggest one. And it comes with this beautiful roller ball. And the roller ball is where does it turn? Here, is a Schmidt. So it's a Schmidt refill. So a Schmidt refill, so a good one at that. Good make, and you can get colors, you can get fine, medium, bold. We'll do some writing with this pen. So I'm glad. So I've added this roller ball to my collection. It goes for, let me just check, on the AliExpress, and different vendors sell it. It is $43, so it's not cheap. But even the Admach fountain pen is a little more expensive than other pens, and Asvines and Ungdians and Jinhaos, etc. So it's not surprising there. But this resin is just gorgeous in my view. Then I have this, what looks like a really nice pen, but I'm extremely disappointed in this pen. This is the Jinhao 85. I'm not sure, given the Parker arrow clip, I'm assuming that this is a knockoff or a clone of a real Parker. Maybe it's the Parker 85, if there is such a thing. I'm not sure. I'm sure that somebody from the viewers will comment on this and let me know. I didn't do that research ahead of time. It does have, and look at that, it's leaking everywhere. That's one of the problems. Sorry about that, because my hands are getting full of ink. It's leaking. It has a Fude nib, and we'll take a look at that in a second. So this has been a total disaster. I'm not going to put it back in there. Is it wet? No, I think okay. No, you know what? I'm not going to put it back in the tray. It's going to ruin my tray. But we'll take a look at that in a second. The next thing I'd like to show you is for the P139 and I guess the P140, Majon is advertising this nib, which is a Bach number 8 size nib, which I think is a recent thing. Bach never had a steel number 8 size nib. It only came in titanium, but recently it's added this to their repertoire. And I figured I'd buy the nib and then test it on one of my, I have two 139s. I didn't want to buy a third one. Actually, I did, but I would have ordered that BlackRock, the new 139 BlackRock model, with the nib in it already, but they didn't have it. So I decided to just get the nib, and I said, you know what, when I get it, I'm going to test it, show it to my viewers, and I'll replace the Majon nib with this one, and we'll be able to see whether or not the Majon is superior to the Bach. The unfortunate part is that, first of all, I really had a hard time pulling that nib out of its setting. When I did, I had an extremely difficult time putting it back. And in so doing, I damaged that ebonite feed. I think you could see that right there. I ended up breaking some of its fins right there. And for the life of me, I was unable to insert this Bach nib in there, believe it or not. Was it my pen? I have no idea. I did manage to push it down almost to the end, but it was sticking out. And the writing with this nib was awful. The way it was positioned on the feed. The feed was not feeding the nib sufficiently to be able to test it properly. So you know what, folks, the the verdict is still out on this number 8 box steel nib. I'm going to try to play around with it. Just didn't have time this week. I do have other pens that accommodate the Bach titanium nib. I think I have a Ranga pen. I'm going to try to see if I could, accommodate that one and do some writing with it and maybe come back next week. By the way, if you're curious, let me just show you the fact that I did break off some of the fins on that ebonite feed has not affected this pen at all. As a matter of fact, what has happened now is that this medium nib, I don't know if because playing around with it, I kind of opened up the tines, maybe, when you press on it. But this medium nib is now turned into a broad, in my view. And you know what? I like it. It's even smoother than it was. So the original disappointment in me having broken or, damaged that feed has turned out to be a very nice thing for me, because now this medium Mahjong nib, which is wonderful, by the way, is now a very wet broad nib. I don't recommend that you do that, but I've got a feeling that if you take any of those nibs and just play around with the tines a little bit and maybe spread them a little bit, if you're a broad nib sort of a collector, and some people are, it's not quite a stub, that nib has already got some spring to it, which, by the way, I don't see in that Bach nib. This thing's got some, look at this now. You see that? It's certainly, I've turned it into a broad. I don't think I've sprung the nib. I think I've just played around with it sufficiently enough to make it wetter, thicker, and springier, believe it or not, than what it originally was. So the verdict's still out on that Bach nib. I will get back to you guys probably in my next recap. I may even actually order the P139 with the Bach nib already installed, because if I can't install it, that nib is practically useless to me. I may have to buy the pen that goes with it. But there you have that. Now, in terms of, while I have the notebook or the notepad here, let's take a look at this. This is the Admach M800, and they still call it an M800. They don't call it actually they call it Admach 800. I know the real Pelican calls it R for rollerball, but performs very nice. I mean, the 800 is a nice size to begin with. It's not too big, not too small. Some people have said that the Pelican M800 that has inspired this, which is my understanding the same size, is probably an ideal size for a fountain pen. But there you have it, right? It's really, really nice. Now, let's take a look at that ugly mess that I made with my Jinhao. I'm just going to dry it up because it's full of ink. Yeah, so that's the not M800, the Jinhao 85. There's that Fude nib. I thought it was buying something that would have been interesting. It leaks all over the place. Then in terms of writing, I mean, it's a Fude nib, but not an interesting one at that. It's kind of an uneven Fude. I don't recommend it for, look at this. It's not constant. The line is not constant. So I don't recommend it for writing. Maybe artists can use this. So, the thick line is not all thick. If I use it, if I point it up a little more to make it thinner, it's okay, but it's scratchy. I like the body, and I'm going to write to Bobby, St. Pen PPS Bobby, and see whether or not, look at that, it's just bubbling. Do you see the bubbles? And see whether or not I could actually get a different nib and replace it. But look at the bubbles. It's just bubbling all by itself. Weird, boy. Let me tell you, it's almost frightening. So, guys, buyer beware with that Jinao 85. I would say stay away from it. Really stay away from it. There you have the pen instruments that I've wanted to review for you, except for one major surprise that I have for you. Stay tuned. Give me a minute, and we're going to do a special surprise unboxing. Be right back. Okay, so here's the package. I ripped it open, and that's when I said to myself, you know what? Maybe we should present this as an unboxing. So I stopped right there. And here's the bubble wrap. So let's see. Oh, well, it's as I unwrap it, the weight is becoming more and more obvious. Let me just get rid of this bubble wrap. Wow, let's just hope it's not a big, heavy clunker. But here it is, folks. Ah! Wow. I've got to tell you that in person, this pen is really majestic. This is the, I guess, imitation, inspiration, clone, or fake of the Jane Austen Mont Blanc. Now, if you saw my video on fakes and clones and imitations or homages, you'll note that I make a difference, or I distinguish between a pen that is being sold to us as a Mont Blanc original at the price of a Mont Blanc original. This goes for roughly $1,800 Canadian, and a clone, or even worse, if you don't like these things, an exact replica, right down to its, Mont Blanc logo, but that's being sold to you for $50, $60. Okay, if it's being sold to you for $50, $60, it's a fake. It's not the real thing. The real thing costs $1,800. So as far as fakes go, or as far as the original goes, this is one of my Grail pens, and it's in the hunt. It's a pen that I would love to own, the original, and that I know sometime in the future I will either buy it or somebody will gift it to me. Hopefully the latter. And and it's going to make me very happy because I love the design of this pen. The first time I saw it, I saw a gentleman. I was on a beach resort in France, and I was having lunch with my wife, and I saw at the other table somebody writing in their journal with this pen. And I interrupted that individual and asked him, commented on the pen, and he showed me the pen, and I didn't dare ask him to give it to me or put it in my hands. The conversation was very short, but I knew there and then that I had fallen in love with this pen. So when I saw it being offered on AliExpress, folks, I'm sorry, criticize me or shame me, if you will. I could not resist. Now, it is beautiful. The accents are just really well done. The color scheme, this color scheme is just absolutely gorgeous. There is the nib. There is the barrel. Now, first thing I mentioned is that this is very heavy. But when I check, and we can check the website. Let me just transfer to the website. The original on the Mont Blanc, as you can see, it's $1,765 Canadian. And when you look at the specifications of this pen, it gives you a weight. Sorry, it's very clunky, this website. 73.91, so roughly 74 grams. So even the real thing is very heavy. The barrel appears in the real thing appears to be a little more ivory than my version. The top doesn't appear to be. So if I go back to, yeah, the barrel appears to be a little more ivory in real life. It shares the two gold bands, both here and here. I'm looking at the picture at the same time as I'm commenting. The same silver section. The top or the cap, very similar. It's got a very similar design. The top appears to be of the real thing, appears to be actually not a silver, but it looks like a dark grayish top as opposed to the silver top. But that could just be the reflections of the picture. Shares the same clip. Can I move this clip? No, it's very stiff. I'm not going to even dare because I've got a feeling that with this imitation I may actually crack it. What's inside? Not much. Just one big steel casing from what I can see. There's no sealing mechanisms, even a screw down there that's probably holding together the finial. So I suspect that it may not be the greatest sealed instrument. As far as the nib is concerned, it does have 1810 on it. It's purported to be 14 karat gold, which I doubt very much. It has a very cheap plastic feed, which I'm assuming is not at all like the real thing, but I could be wrong. This is a piston filler, from what I gather. So it is a piston filler, and I believe the original is a piston filler as well. Now let's look at the weight. I'm very curious to see if this weighs just as much as, or if not more than the real thing. Yeah, it weighs a lot more. This is 89 as compared to 74, so almost 15 grams more. So obviously there's a lot more, cheap steel in this one than there is in the real one, which pleases me in the sense that I would have been very disappointed otherwise, because I would be tempted not to buy the real thing. Now I know I have to get the real thing because the sensation. Now the website doesn't give me the dimension or the weight, capped and uncapped. I probably will try to get that information for you, and if I succeed, I will put it up on the screen. But what I'm really curious about is, this pen is heavy, both here and the cap and the barrel. So it does sit nice and heavy right there. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to ink this, and we'll take a look at how it writes right away, and I'll be right back. But so far, I'm happy in the sense that it's kind of fulfilled part of those dreams. And as I mentioned in my video, this is one situation where I think this fake will incite me into buying the real thing. So maybe not right away, but eventually. I cannot resist. This is a beautiful pen. I will be right back with the writing sample. Okay, I'm back. I've inked up the pen with, in hindsight, and it just occurred to me when it was too late, I inked it up with Scribo Blue Capri, okay? By the way, it does not cap, thank goodness, because I can't see this pen, if it's capped, being in any way, shape, or form comfortable at all. Let me just put that cap right there, just to tease you even more. Let's see how this writes. I'm very curious. Now, is it Jane Austen? I want to make sure I spell it right. And it's a AliExpress. Call a spade, it's a fake. Now, it's not being passed off as the original. That's the distinction that I make. Let me put that aside now. I need more space. But I can tell you that this nib appears to be, it writes, I believe it was identified as a fine nib, but in my view, it writes more like a medium. It is, the ink is Scribo blue, and it's BLU, not without the E, Capri. The nib is very, very, very smooth. I gotta tell you, folks, it is one of the smoothest steel nibs that I own. Okay? It is very wet, almost a gusher. So approximately a gusher. Fast writing, I mean, folks, it's very, very constant or consistent, if you will. Okay. Does it have any line variation? Ugh. Fairly stiff. Really no bounce there, but it is soft because of how smooth it is. I don't know if I described that. In other words, the softness is in how smooth it writes. It almost writes like a medium broad. The tipping, I've got a feeling, is so rounded off that it writes very, very nice. It is an absolute joy to write with this pen. The weight, in the end, is comfortable. It doesn't bother me. Will it bother me for long writing session? I'm not sure. What about reverse writing? It's kind of grooving into the paper, and it gives me like an extra fine. It's a little scratchy. I would stay away from it, but it does write though. I gotta tell you, folks, that I hate to do this because it's not the real thing, and they've copied it, but it's such a joy to write with this pen that I have no choice now, really, to spend. I can't believe that I'm going to do this. Let me just, sorry, my camera disappeared on me here. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I really don't have a choice. I got to get the real thing, because I can't believe that the real thing doesn't write nicely. But this pen is going to be in my hands for some time, I got to tell you, just because it is so beautiful. It's just a gem, just a real gem to write with and to own. So, folks, that's my surprise for you this week, folks. I am just thrilled, feel very guilty, and because I don't want, because I'm so happy that I might incite other people to buy it. But please go with your conscience. Your conscience tells you no, don't. However, if you don't mind the weight, that extra 14, and it's a lot, to me, it doesn't affect the writing, and the nib is nice. If you want to maybe just have a small inkling of what the real thing looks like or feels like, this may be it, folks. So there you have it. Stay tuned for my next segment. Now we're back with my next segment, which is currently inks. What have I got currently in my pen case? This is what I bring to the office. What I've started to realize is that I bring 12. It's more of a safety mechanism. If nothing else, I feels good that I could put 12 pens in a case and put them in my bag. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you were all wondering, does he really use all 12 pens? The answer is no. So I think what I'm going to be doing is getting a little more real in the future, and maybe stick to a 6 pen. I'm going to try to find an 8 pen case. I think 8 pens would be great. I've got 6, I've got 3, I've got 2, I've got 1, I've got 12, I've got 10, but I don't have an 8 pen case. So maybe that's something that I could hunt for. But this is my currently ink. So let's take out which notebook. I'd like to show you, again, this notebook. Originally, I wasn't too pleased, but I have been lately reusing it. Yes, it's not perfect, but rather than waste my Tomo River too quickly, because I realized I'm running out of the original, I need to spread out, or spread my wings, as they say. So first thing is this pencil. For those of you who didn't see my previous recap, this thing is great. First of all, I use that to put, you could use it to put a nib in there if you want as well. And that's why I bought it. But that pencil, it was great. I did use this. So this is currently inked. And this was for the week, well, 2 weeks actually, because we've missed a recap, right? But July, what is it? The 6th. That's the last week. Very nice. I like this thick pencil. I think I like pencil better than I do ballpoint or even rollerball. My rollerball last couple of weeks has been this Zento signature. Very rare to find. Good luck if you can find it. But writes really nicely. I overpaid it just because it's sold out everywhere, but people must have bought and scooped it up and overpriced it on eBay, and that's where I got it. Of course, this beauty from Delta, the Delta Reserva ink tank. Wow, that combination of this nib and the Yamaburo ink, I think is just lovely. So I enjoyed this pen. And of course, it's got plenty of ink. I may leave it in my my case for next week. This is that Aurora Talentum that I recommend to everybody just because of its price. You can get the beauty of that in-house Aurora nib in a shell that's pretty attractive, if you ask me. And I think they come in different colors. I really like the red one. I might get one. But at half the price, you know, like for $300, $350, you can get this Talentum and enjoy that nib and not have to spend maybe $500 or $600 on the Optima. And you get really the same writing experience because of the nib. I'm looking to see whether or not I could add Aurora nibs to my collection. When they have them on sale, I'm going to swoop them up because I want to try the different sizes. This is the medium. So it's a number 8 steel. Folks, I mean, guys, you get a number 8 sized nib, steel, that writes beautifully. Yeah, I don't know, some of you don't like this pen just because of the guitar, but concentrate on the nib and the writing experience, and I don't know, you buy this pen for $15 now. What a steal. I gotta tell you, what a steal. This is quickly becoming one of my favorite pens. This little guy, it's not the most attractive in terms of, you know, material. And that's why I bought it on sale. But it has that Aurora 14 karat flex nib. Which allows me to enjoy a fine nib, but with the line variation that this pen gives you because of the flex. It's not a Magna Carta Mag 600 sort of a flex, but it is a very soft and springy, slightly flexy nib. These things I didn't use. I'm not even sure they will work. They're dried up on me. There you have it. I didn't use these two. This one here, I just didn't use it. It's a ball pen. It's a roller ball. Here's that controversial Mont Blanc. Wow, is that scratched? No, it's just dirt. Mont Blanc. This is a fake. But a very good fake, but that's being sold as a fake and not as the original. So I guess I would call this the MB, because that's what they refer to, MB 149. Very soft nib, juicy. I'm tempted to get more just because it offers the real thing. It offers absolutely the real thing. Talk about a Grail pen alternative. It certainly is one. But you may or may not like the idea because it is a fake. So again, Aurora is just blowing me away these days. If there is one pen or nibs that I want to add to my collection, it's these Aurora nibs. I have medium, I have extra fine, I have fine, I have the soft 18 karat fine, vintage fine, and I have the flex fine. So I need more. I need medium, I need broad, I need the Gocha nib, which is kind of an architect grind, and the stub. Really nice. And this paper is holding up well, folks. We'll see what it looks like on the other side. But let me write here, because I'm running out of space. This is the fake of the 146. So this is the MB. It's right up on me. The real thing doesn't. So if there's any consolation, there it is. I didn't use it really the week. So this is MB 146. But when I primed it, the nib is a gusher. And so smooth. That's where the difference is, folks. Not only is this pen not a big metal clunker, but it actually has precious resin, like Mont Blanc. Not only is all the rest, the trimmings all pretty match, but what used to be cheap Yowo, iridium, scratchy, leaky nibs are replaced with very smooth ones. This is my Asvine C80 extra fine. One of the few extra fine nibs that I own. But I got to say that these number 8 Asvine nibs write, I think, one grade more. So your extra fine really likes like a fine. Your fine writes like a medium. Your medium writes like a broad. And then you got that gusher, which is the 1.1. Did you notice that more and more people are discovering Asvine? It's kind of taking over. I got to tell you, traditional pen makers, beware. You can't beat this. I don't know what this is going for these days, but anywhere between $25 and $40. I forget the price. But what a fabulous pen. What a fabulous pen. I'm missing the brown one. Inquiring Minds reviewed that brown. I may get it and just kind of complete the set. And I think I would be missing Galaxy as well, but I'll wait for the price to go down and then we'll buy it. So that was my recently inked for last week. We'll take a quick break and I'll come back with what I propose for next week. Okay, I'm back and we'll take a look at the pens that I'm going to be inking up, or that I've inked up and will be using this week. By the way, I just wanted to show you how this notebook is performing. As you can see, there is some bleed through. It's not perfect. It's a little bit better than the two others that I've reviewed this week. But I want to use it up. I'm going to use it up. And it's not as bad as I originally thought, but it's not great. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm going to go with this 6-pen case. And here are the writing instruments. Whoops, wow, I just dropped one. Yeah, dropped a Jane Austen. It weighs a ton. Just came right out. Okay, these are the pens that I propose for this week. First of all, I'm not going to have a pencil. We'll have a rollerball. I'm going to kind of take this pen for a ride this week, which is the Admoc or 800 rollerball that we just saw. Writes really nicely, by the way. Yeah, with that Schmidt refill, can't go wrong. And this gem, wow. It is heavy though. So this is the can't spell anymore. Of course, it's the fake. By the way, you saw the surprise unboxing, but that surprise today is, I'm writing today, 4 days after I originally did that unboxing and did that writing sample that we just saw. And 4 days later, the pen hasn't dried up on me. So if that's any consolation, we'll see how it performs during the week. And I will let you guys know next week. Now, just to show you that I'm not, how can I put it? That I still enjoy my Leonardo pens. I mean, I have maybe, 8 or 9. And I'm going to be using 4 Leonardo pens this week. Some of you might be saying, boy, what has he got against Leonardo? So, for example, this is a Le Fenice stamped broad Yowo nib, I think. And this is the Leonardo Momento Magico Pithecusa with a broad nib. It's a Yowo nib, very juicy. Pen is very light. It was a big disappointment when I got it. Yeah, some chatoyancy there, but not the deepest. Expect a little more from Leonardo, especially what I paid for this pen. It doesn't, you can't say that this Admoc, which is like $60, is any lesser in terms of quality of the resin. So I was a little bit disappointed, and it leaks on me here. As you can see, I don't know where the leak comes from, but it's not perfect. This is the Leonardo Supernova with a Yowo La Fenice branded, I guess, 1.5 stub. And the disappointment in this pen was, take a look at the resin. I got that big blue blotch. If it would have been all like this, but when you turn around, I got just this big blotch there. Awful. So, should I have returned it? Maybe, but, it's not defective. Nice shape. That step down is fine for me. Some people don't like it because it is a little sharp. But again, La Fenice stamped Yowo steel nib. I don't have any gold because, like I said, until I know what I'm buying, I'm not buying any. Except those 2 pens that I got from the bidding at Katowiki. I think one of them is gold. A got a good deal. So Leonardo Momento Zero. So this is the standard first line. This is the Sorrento, beautiful town near the Amalfi Coast where I was born. And it's 1.1 or 1.5? 1.1 stub. Yo-wo. No branding on this. This was the original transition. This is what the nib looked like. It doesn't even have the stamping of the standard logo. Originally, they went from Bach to Yo-wo, and then they started stamping or engraving or laser engraving their logo on their nibs. So that was early on. This is probably my favorite Leonardo in my collection right now. This is the Leonardo Momento Zero Grande, second version. It has the ink window, and it has a number 6 steel La Fenice stamped Yo-wo nib. Very nice. But it's a Yo-wo nib. It's a Yo-wo 1.5. It writes like my Goulet 1.5. It writes like my 1.5 in my Edison, in my Franklin Christoph, in my Esterbrook, in my, but it's a nice pen. So there you have it for this week. How did this paper do? Not bad. You see, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's too bad because I really like the cover. But like I said, I'm using this as my notebook. Take notes for, kind of setting up all my videos and taking notes on what I want to present and how the chapters and all of that. So it's coming to good use, and I've just put to some good use to show you what my currently inked for this week will look like. So there you have it for this week. Be right back. Okay, so we're back for the next segment, and in this segment we'll deal with some questions, Q&A from the viewers, some comments, some editorials, and things that I've gone through the week in terms of stuff that I've seen, comments that I've heard or read, and we'll take them one at a time. First thing is first, my Asvine C80. I watched with usual and excellent commentary from Inquiring Minds. He reviewed his pen, his C80, and he was having difficulty with the nib. And when I saw that video, I realized immediately that he had two issues. That shimmering ink that he used, Jacques Arbin Stormy Gray, I think it was, is a difficult ink. And I also noticed that his nib wasn't properly seated deeply enough in the feed. I did mention that his nib was not, and I know other viewers did as well. But what he points out in a subsequent video and a follow-up is that he got a comment from Asvine and from the two representatives that he's in constant touch with, and that I am as well, by the way. And they both responded quickly to it, let him know what the issue was, etc., to help him resolve it. And you know what? He makes an excellent point. He says, well, maybe some people might say the reason why you got an answer from Asvine is because you're a reviewer, especially in his case. He has 25,000 plus subscribers. But, I'm not at 25,000. I'm only at 7,005 roughly. I'm still a reviewer, but I've never had any problems with them. I've always gotten, even before, we were corresponding, because some of the pens were sent to me for review, not a problem. They responded quickly and efficiently. And I think I agree with Inquiring Minds. Try to get that from Pilot or Visconti or even Leonardo, folks. You'll remember, and that brings me to my next point. So congratulations, inquiring minds. You made some excellent points about Asvine, and at least we get a response. Speaking of Leonardo, as you know, I've been struggling with Leonardo pens for one simple reason. They have beautiful pens, but I'm not getting an answer, or I was not receiving an adequate answer as to whether or not the nibs, La Fenice nibs, were actually in-house nibs. I've struggled to find the answer, and I think I finally got some the true picture of where it is. But no thanks to others. I've written to Leonardo twice. I've received no replies. It's now more than a week, not a beep from them. And I told them I was a reviewer. I told them that I was interested in knowing whether the La Fenice nibs were in-house nibs, and no answer from them. Are they hiding something? Am I just not important enough? Perhaps they haven't gotten to me yet. I'll let you know next week if I receive an answer. But here's the final answer that I got. Okay, the Leonardo mystery. I've done some research. I've tried to read as much as I can. The Leonardo site gives us squat in terms of information. They have have yet to respond to my email. I've tried my best to figure out what these La Fenice Yowo stubs, stamped nibs. You got number 6, you got number 8, you got 14 karat, you got 18 karat, you've got steel nibs, you've got plated nibs with the normal logo, then you've got the La Fenice no. It's a mess, folks. And I think it's up to Leonardo to start coming out and telling us exactly what we're getting in our pen. I mean, I refuse to spend 850 euros, which is $1,300 for a fountain pen, and I have no idea what kind of a nib I'm getting. I got to show you this new site that a YouTube reviewer, but a gentleman that we probably all know, Joshua Lax, who is a Nibmeister, as far as I know. He's also an attorney, in which I was supposed to do a video with Josh, and I never got back to him. And if he's watching, I apologize. I just never got, it was part of my nib series, and we were going to do something with a Nibmeister. To what extent Josh still wants to do that, I'll touch base with him eventually, but just not enough time, and we never got it done, or at least I never followed up. But I realize he has his own channel now, which is fantastic. This is what we need. We need a Nibmeister to do pen reviews, so he can give us this very unique perspective. I'm going to put up here his channel information, just a shot of his channel. And there's one interesting video where he discusses a bunch of Leonardo nibs, and he goes through them all. He goes through the Bach, then Bach transition to Yowo. He does the Yowo La Fenice. Then he does La Fenice, and he gives much more information that I was able to find. In pursuing my research, I realized that Bach is gone. So in steel, we're getting just the standard steel nibs, which go from, extra fine to stub to extra fine flex. You have some of the steel nibs have the La Fenice stamping on it, but they're Yowo. Then you have Yowo 14 karat nibs. And here's where I'm not sure. I think you even have some 14 karat Yowo La Fenice stamped nibs. And then you have number 6. Those are number 6. Then you have a number 8 La Fenice nibs. I read somewhere that what they do is they take kind of the gold sheet, they stamp the La Fenice, and then they send it somewhere else to get it shaped or have the tip put on it. I've read at one point that they were doing that with some other supplier, which was not Yowo or Bach, and that they were getting their own machines and that eventually they've been doing everything in-house, and they would actually put on their site a video to show the whole production. I haven't seen that. Is that what they're doing? I mean, it's all over the place, and then you get sites like Corsani telling you that this extra flex nib on one of their limited edition pens is in-house. Is it really in-house? I've got inquiring minds telling me that the nib that he reviewed in one of the recent Leonardo pens was in-house. I asked him the question, and that's his understanding. Others have told me it's not in-house, that it's just a nib done elsewhere, but to their specs. What is it, folks? And they're not coming out. So I'm not going to go for the big one, okay, the expensive one, until I know what I'm buying. If I'm buying a Yo-Wo nib, I'm not interested. Now, I've got to tell you that I did bid for 2 Leonardo pens on Katowiki, and I won the bid, almost regrettably, but the prices were very good. We'll see what kind of nibs those pens have. But, I thought I had the answer. And even Mr. Lax in his video does go through it as best as he can, but I don't have all the definitive answers. But maybe if he's watching, he'll respond and let me know. But I just wish that somebody could give me a summary so that I know what I'm buying. Another thing is that you may not be getting the same nib if you buy a limited edition pen from their site, or a limited edition pen that they would sell you at a pen show, as compared to those Leonardo pens that are readily available on many retail sites, both Italian and American and Canadian, which offer more of the standard product as opposed to what is in-house or specialized nibs. So it's too bad they're not watching the show, because I don't think they're interested. But if they are, they've got to come clean. I mean, I need to know what I'm buying. And in their specs, they got to tell me if it's an in-house nib and where that nib comes from. I'm sorry, but if I'm buying a $100 pen, it's one thing. But if I'm buying, a $1,200 pen, I expect more from them. So there you have it. Now, what else have I got to you in terms of Q&A and comments? One of the viewers asked me, is the Pelican M400, is the nib is the section too small? I don't own a Pelican M400. However, I do own, let me just cut to my overhead camera. I do own a Admoc M400, and my understanding is that these Admocs are exactly the same dimensions as the real thing. And it is on the thinnish side. So this is the Admoc, and I've got a flex nib in here, M400, but it's a very comfortable, very, very, very comfortable section. I don't think it's too thin, as compared to, this is the Admoc M800, which is similar to the Pelican, and as you can see, there is a difference, definite difference. And this M800 is not, the biggest pen in the world, but it's a comfortable. I would say to you, it is very comfortable. And this, of course, is the Admoc M800, and it's got that Schmidt fire hose, which is just wonderful. And of course now, as I've shown you, this is combined with this brand new Admoc 800, I think. They don't have the M there, which is the rollerball that I just bought this week. So that's the answer to that question. The next question I received was, this was a pen I reviewed. This was the Reservoir ink tank from Delta. I had some mixed comments about this. I know that several of you were very critical about the new filling system, and for the life of me, I don't understand why. I think it is some innovation. Could it have other features? Of course. Some people completely, or some comments, in fact, some reviewers, and I won't mention names, completely miss the point. They're saying, well, this is just a glorified ink converter. Yeah, that's the point. An ink converter, I don't know, has 1.6 milliliters. This thing holds, 4? So the point is that you're putting a lot more ink and making available a lot more ink in a pen, especially for travel or for long writing sessions. And you've got big reservoir, in addition to which you can bring along an additional reservoir. So with one pen, you're good for, a long trip. You've got plenty of inks, and you've got some ink in here, which I think is ingenious. Now, could this reservoir have had an ink window so you could see the level? Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, of course. But unlike a piston filler, you could unscrew this and just take a look at where your ink level is. The point of the pen is to give you a reservoir and a big ink tank. Now, if you don't need a big ink tank, or if you don't want a big ink tank, well, don't buy it, But I think it's innovation. And some of you, I think, completely missed the point. But having said that, that's my bias for Delta pens. And I come clean, okay? I love Delta. I love everything they stood for and everything they stand for today. And more importantly, I love the man behind this company, which is Nino Marino. I think he's a wonderful guy, and nobody will, convince me otherwise. So that's my editorial comment for the day. By the way, this pen just performed spectacularly all week. No, it's not AdMock. It's Delta Reservoir ink tank. No drying up issues. Just thick gusher of a nib, which is, by the way, a Bach nib, but a Bach nib that I'm sure they fine-tuned. They really fine-tuned. And Bach nib, Yowo nib. I don't think that this is, it doesn't feel like just other broad Yowo nibs. I think this pen is a great idea, and there you have it, and I'm sticking to it. What else have I got for you? Oh, yes. This is the Vizier Twilight that I reviewed this week. Beautiful pen with some very beautiful cellulate or celluloid acetate. And it asked me, do you have dry nib issues? I mean, I have not used, sorry about that. I have not used this pen in a while because that review had been actually made. Not bad. I mean, there was some, I had to kind of prime it a little bit and, to get it going, but it's fairly good, I would say to you. It's not a total disaster. Look at this. I just had to really force a little bit, and the ink flow is kind of reestablished itself. So given that I probably haven't used this pen in, maybe almost a month, I've got to say, I was pleasantly surprised. So, yeah, I don't think it's a pen. I've had some Pelican pilots, sailors that I haven't used for months. Same for Aurora, even my Visconti, my Mont Blanc, that I haven't used for months, and they'll write up just beautifully right off the bat. This one had a little bit of heart starting at the beginning, but once I got it going, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad, and there's a big price difference, right? So there you have it. So that's it for the question or Q&A and some of the comments and a little bit of an editorial there. And you know what? I'm going to set up again, and I'll be right back with the last segment. Okay, so for the last segment, YouTube review. What have we got there for you? Well, here's a couple of YouTube videos that I would recommend. First of all, I've discovered the brand new, as I mentioned, brand new channel from J Lash, Lax, excuse me, and Uncapped, I believe the name is of the channel. He's got a couple of reviews there. I think he's brand new, at least I just discovered. And so I recommend that. He's going to be a wonderful addition to the community. Not only does he do great work in terms of nib work, but now I'm sure his clients adore him as well. But now we're going to get to hear him and get him to do some reviews and some interesting videos there. So that's a welcome addition to our community. Secondly, Shaq MD is going absolutely crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but he keeps putting videos up, they're really shorts, about these monster, all kinds of nibs. He's created this monster, almost four broad nib, double barrel, God knows. I mean, he is going absolutely bananas. He's actually put some engraving on it. He's put even his logo on it. So he's going really berserk there. And you know what? I'm sure he's having a lot of therapy. We've kind of corresponded. We hope that we'll see each other at one of the Toronto pen shows, which is not too far from, I'm not sure where he is, but he's somewhere in the United States right now practicing medicine. And I'm practicing law in Montreal, and we're going to try to meet up in Toronto. Hopefully our schedules will, as soon as I get dates for that, we'll reserve. And I look forward to meeting the gentleman. He's just absolute a lot of fun. Wet pens, again, I repeat, this is the review of his brand new inks. So if you're interested in that, his channel is wonderful as well. He's always got some great videos, and this is the latest one from him. Then we have Blake's broadcast, who reviewed an Aurora pen and Dalido, and I think he loves Aurora pens, and so do I. So I recommend that video. If you're interested in the pen, an Aurora pen that's not too expensive, that model could be something interesting. If you get it in that nib that he reviews, it's a little more expensive. There's an additional cost. But if you get it in a standard, either fine, medium, broad nib, and maybe even extra fine, then it's the regular price. And I think for $300, $350, you can get an Aurora pen with a beautiful nib in-house, and really in-house, and that writes wonderfully. So recommend that video if you're interested. In terms of fountain pen therapy, well, you have my video on fakes, clones, and homages. I really enjoyed all of your comments. A lot of nice compliments there. I know it's a taboo subject. I try to, approach it the best way possible, and of course, having this pen added to my addition it just adds to the whole irony of the whole thing. I didn't know I was going to get this pen immediately after I published that video, but this thing is surprising me anyway. I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. So there you have it. If you're interested, of course, there's that. I also put up my review of the Vazir Twilight, as I mentioned earlier. Take a look at that. What have I got for you for next week? Well, I don't think I'm going to have a pen. It depends. I don't want to spoil the surprise, but I bought a Grail pen last week. Will I get it during the week so I'll be able to review it and publish my review? I'm not sure. Hopefully I will get it early so I can put up the review on Wednesday or Thursday. I'm hoping it is the Grail pen that I'm expecting. So it's going to be the first Grail pen in 2025. Maybe I've had one early in the year. I can't remember now the timing, but certainly it's been a while. And I've been looking for this pen for some time. And it's going to be a surprise, so stay tuned for that. There are, of course, the two Leonardo pens that I also bought at Katawiki, or that I bid for, that should be coming in. Will I be able to do some reviews there? I'm not sure. If not, I've got plenty of videos already done, ready to go. Here's kind of a melange of what's still out there and yet to be published. So going to be surprised. It all depends on what fountain pen therapy receives this week. So there you have it. That's it for my weekly recap. Enjoy your pen, folks. More importantly, enjoy the summer. I'm playing some wonderful golf games. I got to tell you, my golf game is improving every day. I have a little bit of a rotor cuff problem that I'm taking care of slowly, but thank God it's not really affecting my swing. For some reason, the plane of the swing is not triggering the pain in that rotator cuff. It's hurting. I got an MRI scheduled. We'll see what's in there. But my feeling is that physiotherapy and exercise is probably the only thing that I have to look forward to. At my age, I hear it's a very common injury. They call it frozen shoulder. I see all kinds of videos on the internet suggesting all kinds of exercises and solutions and braces and liquids and creams and acupuncture and all the rest of it. But you know what? It's my birthday soon. July 22nd, it's going to be 68 years. So at 68 years old, the machine is kind of slowing down and it needs a little bit more care. Let's just put it that way. In any event, I'm enjoying my summer. I hope you are too, but I'm also enjoying my pens. So have a great week, folks. See you soon.